everybody. This is Hector Garcia with QB Power Hour. Today's August the 6th, and today we're going to talk about little-known tips and tricks about QuickBooks Online. Let me share my screen here for a second. So it's little-known tips and tricks of QuickBooks Online. I should put the word QuickBooks Online there. I should make it really loud there, QBO. Okay, and we do have a guest speaker today, so we'll put her on in a second. So the agenda today is we'll talk about QB Power Hour a little bit, talk about the host and the CPE process. We'll do a couple of announcements. Then we'll jump into our guest speaker, Danielle Ferris, who will talk about the Firm of the Future contest. And then I will be talking about tips and tricks of QuickBooks Online. So I was given the challenge by an Intuit employee because I've been making videos for a very long time, and most of them are in QuickBooks Desktop. And they tell me, heck, you make so many videos, but you don't make enough of QBO. And my answer is pretty typical. I say, well, because you can't do much in QBO, right? I mean, that it really is pretty straightforward, right? What you can do is what you can do. So I set out to just kind of deeply look into, you know, the creative things that I've been able to do in QuickBooks Online. Mostly with workarounds and new features and things like that. So I will cover all those as much as I can. And it does seep through and it goes a little long. I'll go a little bit longer, or make it for another webinar for every reason I can't show them. So I'm going to talk about importing styles, redesign reports. We're going to talk about the payroll job costing workaround with purchase orders. That should be a popular one because big deficiency of QuickBooks Online is not being able to do payroll job costing. We'll talk about creating a payroll and expenses not assigned to job report. That's actually a really neat trick, and a couple of other extras. So Michelle Long is not here today again. What did I do with my previous life to deserve this? I've been doing this alone already for 3 times, but you know, she'll be back next episode on August 20th, and I won't be here. So it'll be my turn to not be here and be on vacation finally. Anyway, she's an author. She has several books on Amazon.com. She runs the biggest LinkedIn group related to QuickBooks in the world. Has over 140,000 members, so check it out. I live and work in Miami, Florida. I have my own training center. I teach QuickBooks and Excel pretty much for a living, and a member of the Intuit Trainer Writer Network and a CPA, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so QB Power Hour is a webinar series every 2 weeks. The next one will be August 20th, exactly 2 weeks from now. It's always on Thursday at 12 p.m. We typically split between 50% desktop, 50% online. Today I will be doing 100% online because in other episodes I've done 100% desktop. So this time around will be 100% online. We have guest party, special guests, third-party members, speakers. Sometimes there are apps, third-party developers. Sometimes they're Intuit employees. And you know, go ahead and go to qbpowerhour.com to submit some feedback. So about our third-party speakers and sponsors, the sponsors of the show, the main sponsors are Michelle and I. That means we spend our time and our resources to put this together. Every once in a while, we'll have a third-party developer, like we had a third-party developer the last time. I forget what was it, QBox in my Quick Cloud. This time we don't have a third-party developer. Our guest speaker is actually an Intuit employee. We're not sponsored by Intuit, but we invite them from time to time to cover certain aspects of it. The CPE process, you must log in, and you have to be logged in for at least 50 minutes. Our GoToWebinar system keeps track of who's logged in and how long they've been logged in for. You must attend the live through the YouTube recordings. You can watch the recording, but you really don't get the CPE credit. And you must answer the CPE question when given the time. We give you about 1.5 minutes to answer that question, and the password is given to you somewhere in the middle of the webinar. Some announcements and upcoming events. If you go to that bit.ly survey, make sure that's all caps there. They already posted some preliminary results on the rate survey. That's an extremely resourceful piece because you will have really good information about what accountants and bookkeepers are charging for the services and how they're charging throughout the entire country. So it's a really, really good sample. And Michelle Long and Intuit actually put those two things together. You may want to visit firmofthefuture.com. There's a great contest that ends August 11th, and our guest speaker is going to be talking about that. And the biggest QuickBooks conference of the year It's going to be QuickBooks Connect on November in San Jose, California, so check that out, QuickBooksConnect.com. They extended the early bird pricing for a couple of more days, so you can still get in at the lower price range. And in November 16th to the 19th, it's the Leader Conference, the biggest combination between accounting and a technology conference, and Michelle and I will be there live, and we'll be doing a QB Power Hour live. The first time we'll do something on stage, something like this on stage, so we'll see that. That should be fun. All right, so Danielle Ferris from Intuit will be talking about the firm of the future, so I'm going to give Danielle Ferris presenter status.
All right, good morning, everybody. It's great to be here. This is my first time on the QB Power Hour. Just for a little bit of background on myself, I have been at Intuit for approximately 366 days. I started on August 4th last summer.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Having worked with Intuit's public relations agency partner, Access Communications, for over 10 years. So I've worked on a wide breadth of products, helping generate awareness and create some buzz around campaigns we do. In the past 5 or so months, my leader of our accountant and advisor group, Jim McGinnis, and I have partnered together to create a really cool kind of first of its kind programming campaign, and it's called The Firm of the Future. So how we got actually started in this idea is that we had a vision, and the vision was all about how accounting firms really have an opportunity to partner with us, Intuit, to begin to adopt future-ready business models and practices. And why we believe that is that we actually have seen from our small business clients and customers that there's a growing expectation that accountants must move into a more counselor and advisor role rather than a compliance and bookkeeping role. They want somebody who's more of a strategic advisor and not just that number cruncher. And when we started looking at that kind of those insights from the small businesses, we realized that there was a great opportunity, and that was to start talking about what firms of the future could look like and how to help firms become that. So in starting this program, there were 2 elements. What we did was we went out and we purchased the rights to firmofthefuture.com, and that is a resource site where accounting professionals like yourself can learn how to become a firm of the future, and we'll go through the basics on that in a minute. But the second part, and this is the really exciting part, is that we're doing a search, and the search is to celebrate the top firms of the future across the United States, where we'll recognize up to 20 firms and reveal the winners at what Hector recognized as QuickBooks Connect, the largest QB show this season. So when you look at the just programming element of this, you know, the firmofthefuture.com website, it's really home to a lot of thought leadership content. You're going to see white papers and actionable step-by-step guides from some of your peers, but also from our leader, Jim McGinnis. There's an excellent 22-page white paper on how to become a firm of the future written by Jim. It's been downloaded thousands of times. It's really helping firms move to the next level. But you'll also find additional resources and links to other sites and information. You'll see a hashtag called QB Firm of the Future. And this website also acts as the foundation to the second part of this program, which is our contest. And this contest is really designed, you know, after we've helped educate you on how to become a firm of the future, this contest is designed to help celebrate you for your future-ready, your forward-thinking models and practices. We believe we can help elevate your status and showcase how, you know, you're using the cloud, engaged with apps, you know, changing your pricing model, and also showcasing your connected marketing strategies in a new and effective way. And we believe this all will drive excitement around QuickBooks Connect, because at QBC, you could gain the notoriety of taking the stage with several other winners. We've also partnered with Darren Root of Rootworks, based in Indianapolis. He is a thought leader on his own and has created a similar concept. It's called the Next Generation Accounting Firm. But in short, what we're looking for people to tell us is, do you use QuickBooks Online? Do you use apps? How do you use value pricing to bill your clients today? What about your social media profile? Are you rocking LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter? And explain to us a little bit about how your ideal workday flows, and what are you doing to have as many of those ideal days as you can. And as I mentioned, this contest is looming. The deadline is next Tuesday, August 11th. And as I mentioned to everyone, this is a website that was designed in two parts. The first is all about educating, and you still have time. In fact, if you think you're missing one key component, like you're not doing value pricing and you're just still doing hourly, you have time to learn all about that. And let me show you why. This is a website that we've seen help educate people. This is the white paper I explained about how to become a firm of the future. And there's three key components. The first is about getting on the cloud and tapping products like QuickBooks Online as well as applications to further increase your productivity and save you time. We've worked with these key industry influencers. We're still updating this website constantly to provide you access on how to get on the cloud if you're not already on QBO. The second pillar about having a firm of the future is becoming a trusted advisor. We realize there's a really great opportunity to help educate you on moving away from that compliance role and data entry and billing out your time per hour and actually saying goodbye to those timesheets. And so people like Marnie Stretch is a great example, besides Ron Baker, the king of value pricing, are teaching us how to make simple small steps to becoming a trusted advisor through changing your value pricing, changing to a value pricing model, excuse me. And then the third component of becoming a firm of the future is getting connected. As Jim McGinnis says, he's our leader of the Accountant Advisor Group, the web is your new lobby. In days past, you may have probably thought that your storefront was the way to market to prospective clients and or new customers or current customers. Today, we see the internet and the web as a way to welcome those prospective and current customers and clients. So this section, Get Connected, is really designed to show you how to engage with Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and create a profile that keeps you connected and markets your firm so that you really can be a firm of the future. As I mentioned, we also partnered with Rootworks. Darren Root has provided a full dedicated section on his website that will showcase how to become a firm of the future in his elements. But what we're really excited to talk about today is now that you are on QBO, have started implementing a value pricing model, are rocking your social media profile, it's time to enter the contest. And to Hector's point, it's pretty simple. All you do is you go to this click now and enter the contest. And if you haven't already done so, it's pretty simple. What it does is it opens up and it says, okay, time to get started. And all you do, to Hector's point, is you take your iPhone, your Android, your tablet, and you shoot a 2-minute video. Just tell us about the future you want, how you've communicated this vision to your team, how your business model has really become a cloud-based firm. Talk about your brand strategy and then about those ideal clients. But make sure you tell us why you are a firm of the future right now. Do that in less than 2 minutes. Have some fun, maybe get a little creative and go outside of the office, and then just choose File, upload the video, and then the judging process will begin. And it's really that simple, Hector, and if anybody does have questions, I'm more than happy to address them directly. My email address is Danielle_Ferris@intuit.com, and then that's my phone number on the screen if you can see it. And That's all we got, but we're really excited. 6 days left, so hopefully we'll see some more entries, and feel free to contact me and follow the conversation online at #QBFirmofthefuture.com.
So Intuit is really trying to build a buzz around future-looking firms, about companies that are adopting the cloud, that are working with clients on the cloud, and obviously accountants bringing people into QuickBooks. So I want to show you a quick application here. This is the Windows version of what they call the QBO app, or the QuickBooks Online Windows app. And basically, we did a preview of this a couple of months ago, and they previewed it at Scaling New Heights. This is basically inside of a Windows machine. It's a standalone program. It doesn't work through a browser. And just kind of, I'm working with Windows 10 now, so this is new. And what makes it different is it's the same QuickBooks Online, but what makes it different is that you have now menu items. And they also brought on new shortcuts. So if you go to the Help menu and click on Keyboard Shortcuts, it's basically will pull up a PDF file with all the shortcuts that you can use with the QBO Windows app to work, similar to how you work in QuickBooks Desktop. It's the same QuickBooks Online program. It's the same capabilities. The data is still in the cloud. You still pay monthly for it. It doesn't change anything, but it's just how you access it. So what's really cool about it is I go to the Reports menu and click on Profit and Loss. That for me to click on, normally I would go to the Reports menu and then click on Profit and Loss, and that would be sort of a two-button thing. But with the new app, I can go through the menu and it pops up a separate screen. So as you can see here, it's a separate screen. It's sort of a new tab. So it also gives me a little bit of that multi-window screen feel with the same QuickBooks Online app. You saw there's a delay on the data because it still pulls QuickBooks Online. And so that's one of the real neat things about it. The other real neat thing about it is the auto refresh. I'm going to show you for a second what's really cool about this app is that, and I'm working with Windows 10 trying to figure this thing out. Okay, so you see there where it says services, and there's a dollar amount, 403,000. So I'm going to go ahead and create an invoice here on the QuickBooks Online app. Okay, same thing if I were to do it in on a browser, right? But I'm going to create an invoice here and generate some income. And just what I want to show you is I want to show you how the information gets updated into the P&L in real time. And of course, because it's a webinar, you really don't get to enjoy what it would be like to have this in a dual screen, but I'm just kind of emulating it here. So I'm going to hit here, Save and Close. Okay, and then there's some income generated, and then I'm going to go into my P&L screen, and you see that the services or the income got updated automatically. So I didn't have to hit refresh. There's no refresh button. All the reports auto refresh. So I find that to be another really neat thing about it. And the other thing is with this app, it doesn't log you out. So you can actually be logged in, and you can walk out, come back an hour later, and you still be logged in. So it doesn't time you out. So I thought those are really, really cool things to talk about. There's a couple of extra neat things about it, but the favorites menu over here, where I can add any of the favorites. All of those are worth mentioning. But just go to QuickBooks.com and look for the QBO Windows app. I will send you a link on my email where I email everybody on how to download it directly. But I'm sure if you Google, QuickBooks Online Windows app, you'll be able to find it. Okay, that's as much as I wanted to say about that. The other thing I wanted to show you was the Intuit rate survey. So I showed the link earlier, and I will also send it via email. The preliminary results have already been released, and these basically tell you the sample of how different firms charge different dollar amounts for different services. And one of the ones I wanted to highlight here is that 66% of accounting and bookkeeping professionals still charge by the hour, okay, or still have by the hour, and some people answered both, a mixture between value and hourly. That's why the graph looks a little bit weird. And only 43% do fixed fee. And if you search the concept of value billing, that's a great place to find more profits in your firm. So I wanted to kind of show you, just share that one. I'm sure Michelle Long is going to cover all the details, all the pricing. Go to the link I shared earlier, which is bit.ly/2015 rates, all uppercase, and I'll put it in the chat, and I'll also email you that. And let's put a CPE keyword, and then we'll get on to the QuickBooks Online tips and tricks. So there's the CPE keyword. I'm going to leave it on for about a minute. And the CPE keyword is Aruba. Aruba is a tiny island. I guess some fun facts about Aruba. It's a tiny island that was controlled by the Dutch. So their language is actually of Dutch descent, but it's also mixed with Spanish and Italian, and it's a really weird language called Papiamento. By the way, I was there when I was a child, because it used to be, if you look at the big country right under it, that's Venezuela, that's where I came from. It's like a 25-minute plane drive, and it's a piece of paradise. And I'm excited to talk about it because I'm going to go there next week with my family. So I get to go back there after 10 years, and it's really, really nice. I know Michelle went to Curacao not that long ago, which is a stone throw away. Anyway, so that's the CPE keyword. Write it down. It's Aruba, and it's really inexpensive to go there. I tell you, the trip wasn't that bad. It's going to be fun. Okay, so going once, going twice, the CPE keyword Aruba. All right. So let's go to the feature section, which is little known tips about QuickBooks Online. As I mentioned earlier, I wanted to kind of focus on some of those obscure things that QuickBooks Online can do, but it does require you to work with some of the beta tested apps like import styles, which I'll do a demo on, and it does require you to kind of see where all those features are. So I'll start with import styles, and let me jump into QuickBooks Online here. Okay, so import styles it's a new feature, and it's a beta tested feature. So I would have to go into QuickBooks Labs here on the gear menu, and I would have to turn on that feature. And that's let me just scroll down here and look for import styles. So I have to turn this feature on. So I'm going to turn this one on, and also I'll talk about redesign reports in a second. So I'm going to turn that one on too. And these are all the beta testing upgrades that Intuit is doing to QuickBooks Online. And let me turn on collapsible left navigation too, because I think that should not be a beta tested feature. That should just be a built-in feature. I really, really like that. Let me go ahead and refresh here. So the collapsible left navigation bar comes up. And so right here, you see that little arrow pointing to the left. What that does is it lets me click on it, and it basically collapses it. So it gives me a little bit more real estate to work on. So if you didn't know about that, there you go. I mean, that's a really cool feature to have. Also, it emulates a little bit of the new QuickBooks Desktop look. The new QuickBooks Desktop 2013 and above has that left navigation bar that collapses. Okay, so going into the feature that we did here, import styles. Let me just show you here. There's a little button here that says custom form styles. And when I click on that, what this does is this allows me to take a Word document, again, a Word document, whether it's PC or Mac, doesn't matter, and create my own invoice however I want it to look. And then you put in specific codes in that invoice for QuickBooks to recognize it as an invoice it can pre-fill in QuickBooks Online. So let me go ahead and show you how this works. Let me click here on New Style. And oops, not that one. Let me hit the drop down and click Import Style. That's where it is. And then basically it's going to tell me, okay, make sure that you have that you select what type of form this is going to be for. For now, it's just invoices. Hopefully, they'll do this for estimates and sales receipts and that sort of thing, and purchase orders. That would be really nice. But I'm going to click on Download Sample Invoice because I'm going to work off one of their samples just to make it a little bit easier to work for. And I think that most people should attempt to start this with one of the samples. So I'm going to open up basically a Word document, right, which is a template that Intuit built for us to create our own custom design invoices in Word. And let me go ahead and minimize these other things here and show you kind of the things I'm going to do. So I'm going to take my custom design invoice in Word, and I'm going to add pictures, right? I can add pictures really anywhere on the invoice. So we know that with QuickBooks Online, right now the most you can do is add one logo. But in here, I can really change anything. So here in the header, I can add any information I want. And notice that here in brackets, let me zoom this in a little bit. I'm not sure with the webinar if people can see well. But here in brackets, we have billing address with brackets, and we have ship to with brackets, and then we have all these other things like ship date, ship via with brackets. And basically what the brackets do is tell QuickBooks Online that this is actual data from your accounting system that it wants to pull over. So let me zoom out again, so I can change the color, the formatting. I can, I can move this information here to the left, for example. And this is, at this point, this is just Microsoft Word. I'm not really doing anything in QuickBooks right now. So I'm doing stuff here in Microsoft Word. I'm going to add a picture of Aruba down here too. I know it looks kind of weird there. I'll add it here to the bottom. Make it really small here. Okay, so this is my custom build style that I put together. So then I'm going to go ahead and save this. Okay, and again, you would make it however you want to do. I'm going to go ahead and save this into the desktop. Okay, and I'm going to go back into QuickBooks. Where are you, QuickBooks? So this one, that one. Okay, and then I'm going to click on Browse. And then I'm going to select the document that I just custom made an invoice for. Click on Open. And then I'll click on Next. Okay, so then it does this. It takes about a minute or so for it to load it in and try to understand what kind of data is in there. And once it's finished loading that, it'll give you sort of a quick preview. Okay, it says, okay, this is what you imported. And then it highlights all the items that recognizes it as fields. And then at that point, and you don't have to know these brackets. You don't have to know them. You just map them, right? So you can say, well, okay, my billing address matches my billing address, and my invoice number matches my invoice number. And specifically, what they're talking about here is that this thing here that says invoice NO, that is, to open up the Word file again, that is something that in brackets I put in, where am I here, invoice NO, right here. So because I called it invoice NO with brackets, let me just zoom that in for a second. Okay, I called it invoice NO with brackets. Doesn't matter what I call it, you just have to make sure that when you get into the mapping screen, that you know how to match it. So I'm going to hit Next. Okay, and then it gives you basically the final preview of what this is going to look like. I'm going to hit Save here, and I'm going to call this Custom Invoice. Let me show you how to actually use them. So again, this is beta testing, so it's not going to work, extremely well for now, but it does try to bridge a little bit of the gap. One of the biggest criticisms that QuickBooks Online has, and I personally have for it too, so I'm not saying that that other people criticize for no reason. It's absolutely right. So one of the biggest issues that QuickBooks Online has is that you can't really customize the way the invoice looks like you can do it in QuickBooks Desktop. So this is one of the sort of the workarounds. So I'm going to do an invoice here, and I'm going to put multiple products here. Let me do some services and some hours here, okay? And then down here it says customize, down here on the customize button, and I can have multiple templates. So that's what the invoice styles mean. Those are templates. So I'm going to click here on custom invoice, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a save, and then I'm going to print preview just to show you what that's going to look like. So I'm going to do a print preview, and I should have the custom invoice that I built in Word with all the data points that I put into my invoice. So that's a pretty cool feature. Hopefully you've never seen this before, or most of you never seen this before, so I really hope that you're learning something new there. The other piece I want to show you is a little known thing, which is attaching documents to an invoice and then emailing them. So let me just move the screen here a little bit. So let's say that down here on the attachment section, I want to send a client, I'm going to show you the use case. I want to send a client a picture of the product that I'm selling, or maybe the blueprint of or sketch of the area that I'm going to do the service in, or whatever. So one of the things I typically do is I take the pictures and I basically name them. So let me just minimize this for a second. So I'm going to take this picture here. Look, I got a picture of Michelle Long. I'm going to go ahead and name this one hours, right? Because I want to give it the same name as my item name in QuickBooks. That way, the client can connect these. And then this one right here, I'm going to name them services. And some people, what they do is they name them item 1, item 2, something like that. Because I really can't attach a picture to an invoice to be part of the presentation of the invoice itself on the PDF, but I can send it as an attachment. So I'm going to grab these two pictures and put them down here where it says attachments. And then once those finishes loading, this little check mark that a lot of people avoid, and they added this recently. This is not this hasn't been here forever, but this little check mark here that says attach to email. If I check the attach to email button, and I'm going to wait for the other one to load so I can attach it too. When you send the email to the client, it would actually attach the pictures as well, and they can use them to identify the item with the picture or whatever use cases that you're using. And then I'm going to click here, save and send, right? And it tells you here who they're going to send it to, and then it just shows you a preview, and then it just doesn't show you in the preview, but in attachment it sends those two pictures. So those are the two things. Those are the two things I wanted to show you on the area of customizing invoices. The other part I want to show you is the redesigned reports. So I'm going to click here on the reports menu, and then I'm going to click on profit and loss. Let me maximize the screen again. And then up here it says try out our new redesigned profit and loss report, and this is the little option that we checked off earlier. This is this is how probably permanently the new reporting system in QuickBooks Online will be. And again, it's beta testing, so people can send the feedback and click on tell us what you think and that sort of thing. What I really like about this is I have a small collapse and expand button right here, so I really like that. The dates, which are already sort of present there, they're here, but then I get this drop-down menus here for immediate previews, the comparison. So I immediately want to compare these, for example, let's say to percentage of income. So I don't have to click on that customize button screen to get that percentage. I can show, whether I want to show the active rows, active columns, the non-zeros. And if you don't know what those are, maybe in a custom reports episode of QB Power Hour, we can cover those. And then we can select the columns here, like for example, by customers. And it'll break them down by customers. That's something I really like about this system, is that some of these really quickly needed options like these and these, I can get them without having to click on the customize button. So that's another really important piece about it. Now up here on the top right where it says advanced, and then just kind of focus on the top right here where it says advanced. When I click on that, it opens up a menu bar on the right. And what's really cool about it is the rest of those options that are inside of that customize button are actually here on the right side. So I can do my filters here, right? And then only show specific customers. So I want to say I want to narrow it down and only see a profit and loss for one particular customer, and there it is, just for one particular customer. So that's I really like the dynamic of this. I think it's a huge step forward. And again, QuickBooks Online is still not as powerful as QuickBooks Desktop in many, many areas, but for the clients that this is a good fit, I love being able to pull these reports really, really quick. All right, so that's redesigned reports. Now let me show you the big elephant in the room feature here. This is probably, if you've never done job costing in QBO for payroll for the right reasons, because the QuickBooks doesn't let you do it, this is going to be really, really helpful. So I have to set up the scenario. So the scenario is your client uses QuickBooks Online, and they run payroll not through QuickBooks Online, but they run payroll through some other system, ADP, Paychex, some other system. And the big feature deficiency that QuickBooks Online has is I cannot job cost my payroll. So the big criticism that QuickBooks Online has, I cannot job cost my payroll. So I'm going to show you a workaround that allows me to do so. But I want to do it on a sample file. I think it'll be a lot easier on a sample file here. So let me Google QBO test drive and load up one of the sample files here. I'll click here, and I usually have to put like a 6-digit number there unless it'll recognize it, because I logged in not too long ago. Okay, so I'm going to do it on a sample file. So right now, and just to kind of frame this, if I go to a profit and loss and I pull a profit and loss by customer, so I'm going to click on customize. See, that's what I like about the new redesigned reports, that I don't have to click on this thing to then find it. But I'm going to do columns here by customer, and I hit run report. One of the big problems, shortfalls that I have with QuickBooks Online is if I pull a profit and loss by customer report, I can get expenses paid to non-employees, like a third party, a subcontractor. I can get those things to job cost into it, but I can't get payroll to do it, right? So that's the big problem I have, that I cannot get payroll in here. So this is the workaround. First, we do a purchase order, okay? And this is it's gonna sound silly, but the purchase order is basically going to be your timesheet, okay? You have to create your employee as a vendor. So I'm gonna call this one employee 1, okay? So this is my employee that I'm gonna do job costing for. And usually the purchase order date, I use the payroll date. And then I create an item here, and this is the key component here. I'm going to create an item, and I'm going to call this allocated payroll. Okay? Okay, I'm going to call it allocated payroll. And then I usually create an item for each separate employee because they have different rates. So I'm going to put here employee 1, whatever his initials are. Under cost, I'm going to put my employee's cost, my rate, plus I'm going to impute all the taxes and direct payroll related expenses like workers' comp or whatever. So let's say that my employee actually gets paid $25 an hour, but I'm going to add about, let's say I just have add a standard 13% tack onto that. So I'm going to multiply that times 1.13, and I'm going to get my what I call my new allocated payroll cost rate. Under expense account, I'm going to create an account, and that's an important thing too. I want to create a separate account. I should have done this before doing that, but I want to create a separate account called allocated payroll expenses. So I'm going to leave it in purchases for now, and then move it afterwards. So I'm going to hit save and close here. And then one thing I should have done before doing this, which is create that account, so I'll do it afterwards. And then for this allocated payroll, I'm going to go ahead and copy this 7 times, right? Because this is just to emulate a timesheet. And then it seems like a lot of work now, but I'm just going to save it afterwards to make it recurring. So I don't really have to do that work later on. So I'm going to go ahead and select all these here. Okay, there's my 7 for my 7 days of the week. And I always have to do my very last one. And the very last one, I'll put total as negative. Trust me, this is going to make a lot of sense, but you kind of have to follow the steps here. So I'm going to do total as negative here. And then I'm going to go ahead and make this recurring. That way I can use it later. So I'm going to call this timesheet PO. Okay, and then I'm not going to schedule it. I'll make it on schedule. That way it's just sort of safe there forever. So anytime I need to enter, quote unquote, my timesheet for my employee that I need to job cost their payroll, I'm going to go into, I forget if it's here or it's actually here. I'm going to go to recurring transactions, and then I'm going to pull my timesheet for this employee. I click on use, and it'll pull up that PO that I created for my employee, and then I'll put the hours, right? So let's say this is 0, and this is 8, and this is 7, and this is 9, and this is 7, and this is 8, and this is 0, okay? So this is the total number of hours that my employee worked, and just to simplify things, let's say my employee only works for 1 customer a day. So I'm going to go ahead and put the customer that they worked in, right? So again, this is to emulate a timesheet in which my employee is tracking how many hours they're spending on whatever customer, okay? And then at the very end, I get a total, and let's say that total is 1,130. That's the total payroll expense that I'm going to job cost. But what I'm going to do this time around here where it says rate, I'm going to copy that number, and this should be pretty easy to have your client do. Just copy the number from here and then put on the rate -1. That way it zeroes out. So the PO itself is set up to job cost and zero itself out, and I'm going to click on save. Okay, and then basically that was my timesheet. Then I process my payroll normally. I go through ADP, I go through into a full service payroll, whatever company you're using to process payroll, you're doing it outside of QuickBooks. But then to job cost this, I'm going to go ahead and create, I'm going to go ahead and save and close. I'm going to go ahead now create the bill for this particular purchase order. So I'm going to go to new, and I'll go to bill. And then once I select my employee, which is employee 1, I'm going to have the little box on the right side says, hey, you already got an open purchase order for this one. This happens to be the purchase order in which we have our timesheet information. So I click on add all, and it basically creates a bill that job costs every piece of payroll into a particular job, and then it sends it back out. That way it doesn't affect my financial statements in any way. So when I'm looking at my P&L completely collapsed with no customers, sorry about that, when I see my P&L completely collapse with no customers, it shouldn't add or remove anything on my profit and loss. Okay, I did forget one thing. I have to make sure that I go to my chart of accounts and I create that account called allocated payroll. So let me create a cost of goods sold account, and I'm going to call this allocated payroll. And then I'm going to make sure that those items that I had posted to that, so let me go into my products and services, and that item called allocated payroll should also be, let me edit here, should also be hitting that allocated payroll account. Okay, and again, this is just a bridge account. This account is really not going to add or remove anything on a regular P&L. So I'm going to look at my regular P&L here, and I'm going to do it all dates and click on report. So when I look at my P&L, the allocated payroll is 0, right? It's 0. It doesn't affect my P&L. My net income should be the same as it was before. If I actually click on that, I can see the history, and I can see a bunch of negatives and positives coming into it. But this is the value that it has. When I look at my P&L, then by customers, I'm going to click on Customize, and then do Total by Customers, and click on Run Report. Now you're going to see the allocated payroll, and let me zoom this in a little bit. Now you see allocated payroll has dollar amounts associated with each separate customer. And when I scroll all the way down to the right, and these are obviously every single expense by customer here, I see a negative 130, negative 1,130 under unspecified, which basically renders a 0. And then at the very end, my profit and loss is really not affected by this number. This is just for individual job costing purposes. Now, again, if I wanted to have a report that is my detailed profit and loss by customer, I can scroll all the way down and click on the net income, for example, for this customer here called Amy's Bird Sanctuary. So I'm going to click on that. And then this is what I call my profit and loss detail. So I can do a lot of job. Again, it's not as powerful as QuickBooks Desktop because I can do the estimates, item level versus actual, but it could be pretty powerful even to be able to allocate any indirect expenses or payroll for this matter. So at this point, I save the report, and then I can just call this one P&L detail Amy's Sanctuary, right? Whatever it happens to be, save it. And then that's already part of my save report, so I could always take a look at my profit and loss detail report by customer. Okay, so that was that. I'm gonna go ahead and show you another feature here, which is something that QuickBooks doesn't have. QuickBooks doesn't have a expenses not assigned to jobs report. Again, an expenses not assigned to jobs report, something that QuickBooks Desktop can do. So let me show you how I would do that. So to do that, I'm going to actually go all the way to the right and look for this one called not specified. And then I'm going to go all the way down and click on the net income button here. And I'm going to click on that. And then this report contains every single expense that is not assigned to a customer. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'm going to call it expenses not assigned to jobs. And I'm going to click OK. And this is sort of my starting point. And then I'm going to click on Customize. And then here it says distribution account, all income and expense accounts. Yeah, I don't need that. So what I need in this case is all cost of goods sold, all expense accounts. I can choose either one. So I would have to have two reports, one for cost of goods sold, one for expenses. I'm going to click on expenses and click run. And then I'll save the customization again. And basically, in a nutshell, this is a expenses not assigned to jobs. There we go. And at that point, I can do other creative things, like instead of grouping it by account, like in this case, these are all grouped by accounts. I can group them by vendor or something like that. And then I'll do my job afterwards, which is make sure that these things get job costed afterwards. So I click on whatever the expense is, and then I realize, yep, I should have job costed this. And at that point, I select my customer job, put it on Amy Sanctuary, and then I click Save and Close, and it should now go away from this report because it's no longer not assigned. So it's no longer there because it's no longer not assigned to a job. So that's how you do a expenses not assigned to a job report. So I'll pull that up. So I'm going to the questions here. So let's see what questions I have. Somebody says, where's the CPE question? That's coming. And then somebody says, can you do automated bill to pull from a PO information in? So somebody's saying, can I somehow set this up, a recurring bill, so it automatically pulls the data from the PO? That's a good question. I've actually haven't tried that. So I would say I don't know. So somebody's asking, could I create this in an automated way so the bill gets created automatically and it pulls the open bill? I think you can't, but I don't want to say, I think you can't. I think you're going to have to press bill and click on that link to be able to pull that. Let's see, job cost workaround. So the job cost workaround, does it apply to QBO payroll? Okay, somebody's asking me a good question. They said, if I have QBO payroll, so I have built-in payroll in QBO, that we know that QuickBooks payroll absolutely cannot do job costing. That's making the bold statement there. QBO payroll does not do job costing. It's a feature deficiency in QuickBooks Online. So the question is, if I have QBO payroll, could I do this? And the answer is yes. However, if you're teaching your client how to do this, you have to make sure that they don't try to do a purchase order for their employees, because QuickBooks will not let you do a purchase order for an employee. So you're going to have to recreate the employee list as a vendor and add something, to the name or something, so it'll be able to work. So Marcia, that's the answer to that question. You could use QBO payroll and do the job cost workaround, but you cannot use the employee when you do the purchase order. Okay, somebody's asking me back into the QBO app for Windows. Somebody's asking, could I use the QBO app for Windows and Chrome simultaneously? The answer is yes. You can actually use them simultaneously. I don't know if there'll be an issue with the users though, where it won't allow the same user to be logged in twice. But if it's separate users, there certainly wouldn't be any issue for that. Let me see. Okay, so we have a couple of more things here to add, which is, let's talk about a non-posting sales receipt. Okay, so this is what I call a non-posting sales receipt. Now, the use case for this is very strange, okay, and I'm a CPA, so I have to be very careful about how I frame this. But I had a client that says, Hector, I want to create invoices in QuickBooks, quote unquote. I want to create invoices in QuickBooks that I need to print and give to my customers, but I don't want them to post into my accounting system. And I was like, wow, okay, that's an interesting one. So I told them, well, what if we do an estimate? And they said, well, no, don't do an estimate, because I'm currently using the estimates for actual real estimates, and I don't want to confuse them. So I said, well, let's think about this. One thing we could do is create a non-posting sales receipt. And he's like, okay, let's talk about that. What is that? So let me show you. Let me go to New here, and then I'm going to click on Sales Receipt. And then what I do, and again, this is a workaround. This is not like a feature or anything that you were missing. This is just a workaround that you have to experiment with it enough to know how this works. I'm going to create a new account here. I'll create an other asset account called Non-Posting Sales Receipt. Okay, and I'm creating it as an other asset. That's totally fine. So non-posting sales receipt, and then what I do is I'm also going to create an item. I'm going to create a new item that hits the same account. So I'm going to have an item just called item, right? And then obviously I'm going to call it NP, right? This is something that the QuickBooks user needs to be very aware of, that this is a quote unquote non-posting item. So I'm going to send that one to the same non-posting sales receipt account. That way, anytime I sell this item, it hits the same account where the payment hits. And again, it's the same principle as the job costing trick, which is basically coming in and out of the same account. And then I hit Save and Close. And then the client actually creates like an invoice, right? So they'll go here and they'll select the customer. And then they'll always have to make sure they use that item, okay? So we just have to, I'm going to put it here several times. So that way, they're not really going to break down what product and service they're selling. They're just going to use that. And then in the description, they'll put the product and service they're selling. So I'm selling a car, and then I'm selling, let's say, a painting, and then I'm selling a house, or whatever it happens to be. And then I come in here and I actually use the real prices. So that's not an issue, right? The actual real prices are not an issue. And then when I print this out, it looks like a real invoice, a real sales receipt. From a document perspective, it's got a document number. There's a history behind it. It shows no balance due because it assume that it's paid. That's the only sort of kind of deficiency behind it, is because sales receipts don't show any open balances. And I really can't customize that yet. I can't take that out yet. But that's the only piece here. So I don't want to say that for clients that want to issue receipts and get paid in cash and not deposit in the bank, this is a good solution. but because I'm a CPA and I'm supposed to talk about those sort of things. But this is how you could pull something like this off. So when I hit Save here, it doesn't affect my financial statements, because when I go into my balance sheet, You're going to see all that transaction. I'm going to go to the balance sheet here, and then I'm going to go down to that non-posting sales receipt, and then when I click on that, you're going to see all the items that were sold, and then all the payment that was reversed back to the same account. And again, same exact principle, right? Doesn't post anywhere in my account. I can do tracking behind that and that sort of thing. Okay, and I have time to show you one more trick, which is actually on the same wavelength as this, but it's for a different use case. So I have a client that says, Hector, I want to use QuickBooks Online to track ticket numbers, and by ticket numbers they mean service instances. So every time the client needs servicing, I need to have a history of it, but I really don't want it to be an invoice. I really don't want it to be anything other than that, and I want to be able to do a special reports on the history of the servicing that I've done for this client. So on the same exact world here, on the world of non-posting sales receipts, let me do that example here. So I'll click on sales receipt here, and then what I do is here where it says payment method, I create a couple of drop downs. So I'm going to call this one, I'm going to start it with CRM. That way I know it has to do with customer relationship management, and I'm going to call this one service call. So I created that payment method there, and then I hit another drop down here, and then I'm going to call this one CRM, and I'm going to call it tech issue or something like that. And then I'm going to create another one, and again, you can start it with whatever. I'm just doing it to make it easy for the user. And then I'm going to call this one warranty, right? So whatever I want to call it, okay? So basically on the payment method, I use that to just sort of create, filterable events. So let's say it's a warranty call, and then I'm going to select my customers here, Amy Sanctuary. And then under product and service, the same exact case, right? I'll use the same item here. What was that? The item nonprofit. The non-posting. I don't use description, and I don't use quantity. I don't use any of this stuff. I just leave that blank there. This is the only tedious part that you have to remember to pick that item or make sure that's at 0. And then here under the memo and the message display and the sales receipt, this is where I can put the information about it. So I want to put something like, device was broken and we repaired it, right? Whatever it is that I'm going to use, and I'm going to select that service call item there. So I'm going to go ahead and save this one, and I'm going to duplicate it just to kind of simplify the process here. I'm going to duplicate it and do a different circumstance, so a different customer altogether. Let's select that one, and then this one was let's say a warranty call, and then down here I'm going to put here total replace of front vessel, okay? Whatever notes I'm putting there, and so I like to put it on the memo side too, just in case. And then I'm going to hit save here. And then how would this be useful for a management report? So what I do is I go to the reports menu, and then I'm going to go into actually I'm going to search the report called transaction list by date. Okay, so it has to be a real customized report. I'm going to go to transaction list by date, and I'm going to click on customize, and then I'm going to select my transaction type. So my transaction type in this case is going to be just sales receipts. Again, we're using that sales receipt as the transaction type for this, and then I'm going to group this one by customer. I'm going to click on customer here, and then I'm going to click on Run Report. So now I have sort of a history, right, of all the things I've done for these customers, and then I use the columns to add and display the information that I want to see. So in this case, where are my notes? My notes are the useful things here, and the terms were also useful as well. So I'm going to bring terms here, and the terms tells me the type of call that it was. And then I'm also going to put created by, because in typical CRM systems, we know who creates it. I'm going to get rid of transaction type because that's redundant. I'll get rid of posting because that's redundant. I'll get rid of name because I'm grouping it by name in this case, and I'll get rid of account, amount to split. Again, we're only using this for our internal sort of notes and jobs and stuff like that. So I'm going to click on Run Report, and then basically that gives me my servicing status report. Again, we had the sales receipt from before. Let me delete that. That way we're not seeing that. This is the one that we've done with that other example. So now I can call this report my whatever, my service tracker, right? So I can call this my service tracker, and then now I can use QuickBooks Online to track servicing for customers, and I don't have to use another system. Again, if you have a sophisticated system that needs you need to track field service and stuff like that, use another system, use a third-party app or something like that. But this is just sort of a quick way to build a non-posting transaction report that I can use to just track the type of servicing that I'm doing.
And another little known trick about QuickBooks Online is the usage of custom fields. So I'm going to go click on the, the gear menu here and go to Company Preferences. And then I'm going to click on Sales. And then down here somewhere under where it says Sales Form Content, I'm going to click on this little pencil here to edit. And then here are the custom fields. And this is how I can configure these custom fields here. And by clicking on this little checkbox that says Internal. Now, do I wish there was more than 3? Yes. Do I wish these had drop downs? Yes, but there isn't. So we just have to deal with these. And let's assume for a second that these custom fields, none of them are public, which basically means that the customer won't see it on an invoice. And then I'm going to put here under where it says the name of the custom field. I'm going to call this one time, and then in parentheses I'm going to put here AM/PM. So let's say, for example, I just want to know whether or not we did the service in the morning or in the afternoon. For whatever reason, that's what I'm trying to do with it. And for this other one, and then we're just going to call it complete, and then we'll put here Y/N in the legend. So that way, all we're telling people is this is the data that I want them to input. Unfortunately, because I can't really do a drop down, I'm at the mercy of the data of the data entry person. So if the data entry person, actually puts the word yes or puts C, just to be funny here, it could cause a problem when creating reports, and we're going to get there in a second. But so I typically like to do simple data entry on custom fields, especially if we're going to use them for special reports. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Done. And then I'm going to create an invoice here. So I'm going to click on the new Create, and then I'll click on Invoice. And then I'm going to create an invoice. I'm going to choose a customer, and then I'll choose a product, whatever it happens to be, and I'll put there whatever the price. But then here in the custom field, I'm going to put here PM. And then complete, I'll put here no, right, or N. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and then just for the sake of time, let me also duplicate this transaction. I'll click on copy, and then I'll click on a different customer here, and then this one will also be PM, and I'll put here complete no. And then I'll put here some other quantity, and then I'll hit save. And also, for the sake of time, I'll duplicate that one also, and I'll pick a different customer, and this one we'll put here AM, and then under complete we'll put Y, and then I'll hit save. And then just doing numerous pieces of data entry, so then we can figure out the type of report that we're gonna do here. Let me just change the rate on this one, so I'll do save. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and close it. And then I'm going to create a custom report that contains the invoices with those custom fields. So I'm going to click on Reports. Here under Search, I'm going to look for transaction list by date, and that's sort of the key report that we use there. That's like the custom transaction detail report that there's on QuickBooks Desktop. I'm going to click here on Customize. And then I'm going to limit this to only invoices. So whatever is the transaction that I'm tracking. So I'm going to put here on only invoices for transaction type. And then down here, I can actually create filters, right? So I want to see only the ones that were completed. So I'll just put a Y there, and I click on Run Report. And I'll basically narrow it down to only the ones that were completed. I'm going to click on Customize. And then I'll go down. And then let's say I want the ones that were completed, and they were also in the morning. Right? Let's say the ones that were not completed were also the morning. And this is where it's better to put little small codes like AM, PM, or Y and N. That makes it a lot easier. So I click on Run Report. In this case, there really happened to be none. So let me go back into the filter here, and then I'll put here AM, and I'll put yes, and I'll hit Run. And then that should just render that same transaction. Now on the other side of the coin here is I can create a non-financial report. So for example, with the same information, I'm going to click on changing the columns and change the columns, and I'll get rid of amount, I'll get rid of split, I'll get rid of account. Let's say I don't need all that. I'll get rid of posting, I'll get rid of transaction type, and I'll just keep sort of the customer's name, the date, the transaction number, and the memo. And then I'm going to bring in my custom fields. I'm going to bring in complete, and then I'm gonna bring in my time, and then I'll hit and I'll bring this down. So I don't need it at the beginning, so I need it all the way at the end. I'll bring that down, and then I'll hit OK. And then down here, I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of the filters, right? Because then I just want to basically show all the invoices with those custom fields, and then basically we can call this our job status report or our scheduling time job report or something like that. So this is like to really think of creative ways of using QuickBooks for other than just financial transactions. At the same time, that's the power of the memo, right? So if I want to put a memo down here and that says, let me see, the memo, yeah, exactly, the memo down here, and I'll put here waiting for part, whatever note it is, and this is sort of the internal note. So when I look at that, I should see that in my description report. So again, the combination of fields that we can use is really good. Unfortunately, we're limited to just three custom fields. But there's another one lesser known, which is ship via. Actually, I don't think it's enabled here. So let me go into the HitX there, and I'm going to click on the gearbox and go to custom forms and styles, which not there. So I'm going to go to gear and company settings, and then I'll go to sales, and then on the same place that I was, I'm going to look for ship via. So this little box here that says shipping turned on, and if you click on the little thing, it tells you exactly what this means. That shipping box, which you may use this for a client that doesn't have any shipping whatsoever, but this is actually really cool. So when I turn on shipping, again, assuming that we're not really shipping anything and I'm using this for something else, and I'm going to go to an invoice here. So I'm going to go into my invoice, and then I'll go back to one of the invoices that I was touching. So I click on the little history button. This little history button there is pretty cool. So I'll click on that, and now I have this shipping date, and then I have ship via. So ship via could in itself be a custom field as well. So that's really what I like about that. And tracking number could also be a custom field. So I can have more stuff here. Like I'm going to put here UPS, and on the ship date, I'll put whatever that date means to me. They say that I'm really using that for like service date or something like that. And then on the tracking number, I'll put some numbers. And this is where, again, unfortunately, as a user, you're gonna have to know that you're using these boxes for something else altogether. But pivoting on that concept, when I go back into my custom report and I'm gonna go to customize, and then I go to change columns, I can also see ship via. There it is. And I can also see ship date, and I can also see that tracking number. So again, whether or not I'm using those particular fields for what they're meant to, right? An actual ship date or an actual tracking number or actual ship via, that gives me potentially 2 extra custom fields and then a date level custom field. So hopefully the combination of custom fields and the custom reports gives you a little bit more insight about what little creative, lesser known things you can do in QBO.
Our sponsor for next week is Citrix, or Citrix. I'm not sure if it's Citrix or Citrix. They're going to show us a new system called, well, not a new system, but one it's getting really popular in the QuickBooks world, called ShareFile, and another product that is for collecting signatures digitally and transferring files securely. So we're going to talk about, Michelle Long is going to be on next webinar talking about all about file transfer and document sharing. I won't be here because I'm going to be on vacation in the beach, so I'll try to forget about QB Power Hour for a week. So anyway, thank you very much for joining us today. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. And please remember to go to our Facebook group and join and add suggestions and continue the conversation. Have a great Thursday. Have a great weekend.